Welcome, Wildey. How's things, mate?
Yeah, very good. Thanks very much, Scott. Thanks for having us on.
Good. Today we've got Mike Wilde. I just told him his list is very long, his honours list. We could be here a long time, but we're just looking at the Welsh Premier stats at the moment. If I'm wrong, I'm sure you'll correct me, Wildey. Nine Premier titles now, 5 Welsh Cup, 5 League Cup, 1 Premier Cup, FAW Premier Cup. Set goals in Europe. Are you still top? I don't know whether you all know. 7 goals in Europe. Is it top? I think it was at one time. If someone was overtaking it, I'm not sure. I think it still is. 2013 Golden Boot winner. 4th on the list all-time goal scorers. 200. 153 TNS, 47 with Connors Key. That's just, obviously, that's not your time at Chester and Fleetwood, Halifax. That's just Welsh Prem. About right there, Wildey?
Yeah, about right. Yeah, Scott. I think there's a couple more this season that I got in the Welsh Prem. So I think I'm on 206. So I'm trying to track down that 3rd position. I think that's
good lad. Yeah. Is that's still in your sights? Obviously.
I think it is. I think I'm continuing to try and always set new objectives, new challenges. That's always one of them, personal ones, but also I need that in order to give me that kind of objective of having that ambition to keep going. So you have to find new alternatives and different things and try and almost trick your brain into thinking, yes, you can go again. Yes, you want to go again. There's another thing to do. There's something else to tick off. So yeah, getting 3rd would be a great honour. I think then there's a couple that will be chasing me on the way to beat me then as well.
Yes, I think Venice is behind you there, isn't he? He's still going strong. But if you look at 37 years of age, lots of different aspects to your game that have probably grown, and you felt that okay, I can do that role now. Looking at playing even a little bit deeper there in the 10 role. I joked when I was on the sidelines there about playing in the 10, but it's perfect for you because the way you're set up at Connors Key with two forwards in front of you as well, you're going to win those flick-ons and then getting the seconds and whatever. So back in the day, you probably thought, hang on, I would be playing in the 10 because you were so suited, certainly to your role with us at TNS back when we started. It was, you were the main structure, the main 9 that we fed off. You'd do all your running for Juice, and then you'd cross one in the box and Juice would score. So as you get older, through a bit of coach education as well, you've certainly, there's been aspects of your game that have certainly grown and you've developed, would you say?
Yeah, I think it's like you've just said. I think it's horses for courses. I think it depends on the setup you're in. I think it depends on the team you're in. I think then also what I've managed the game now is game understanding. So you can probably put me in a multitude of positions. I mean, don't put me out wide. I don't think I'm going to do any step overs and throw a ball in the box nowadays. But I think centrally I can cause problems. I think as well, people traditionally just think as number 10s as little technicians, a little, almost like passing a ball through eye of a needle, that type of a number 10. But I'm definitely not one of them. I think I'm more of an educated number 10 that possibly can see build-up play, almost use me as a deeper platform. So, and credit's got to be given to somebody who recognises that and then kind of puts me in that position in certain games. I think what will help me going forward, especially in the next few years, playing wise, is the fact that now maybe there is more strings to my bow as well. I mean, I've even done a stint in centre midfield as well for 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Ballack role.
Yeah, a little Michael Ballack role, yeah.
We used to say.
Yeah, it was enjoyable as well. I think I've been defending in my box at one point a couple of times this season. So, I mean, how much I've got of a centre half in me, I don't know, but higher up the pitch, definitely.
Good stuff, mate. Listen, great season. Winning the title again, back to back. Fantastic. obviously I've been part of it and whatever, and to see, you know, another team come along and push and, you know, really make it a title decider and one that the neutrals are all, you know, let's not have it any other way. The neutrals want someone pushing TNS. It's, you look on social media, you listen to them, the pundits, they all want somebody else, which is good for the league. You know, it'll only push both sides, not just those sides. You know, you've got other teams coming up now that are doing very well. So congratulations on that league win. It was different watching it from a spectator, you know, watching it at home and stuff like. But it was a great end to the season, and you know, congratulations to you and the rest of the boys. And see, there's a few TNS lads in that dressing room, so I'm sure they would have enjoyed it more than most as well.
Yeah, no, I think they did. I mean, we've been made up for probably the past 3 years as well. I mean, the steps that the club has made since, I'm not just saying since I've got there, but obviously it's probably since the gaffe has been put in place. They've been small at the start. They were incrementable. There was kind of little wins where you have to beat TNS on a game basis, for instance, and then you gradually then get your first cup, and then you'll get the Welsh Cup, and then you'll start being number 2, and then you'll get Europe and a couple of wins in Europe. And it is a gradual thing. I think people almost think when there's money involved and you can and maybe you can spend that little bit more, the expectation of success is immediate. You know, they think that can happen straight away. And there's so many things that have to be put in place. And one of the things it probably took for the past 2 seasons, and maybe it is a little bit of a combination of how successful my goal scoring has been probably this year, is how clear and concise the information that we're given is. So there's no grey area. I mean, if I revert back to our TNS days, there probably wasn't a grey area, but much different way of playing. And probably sometimes, you know, you're doing a lot of running, like you just told me, you're doing a lot of running for not just for yourself. Whereas in the remit that we've got at Connah's Quay currently, there's a lot of predictability of what we do, which is probably why we've been successful and what I believe we've been successful. So there isn't a grey area. I think sometimes in the past with TNS, we've been stuck sometimes between doing 2 things and making double runs, which is all great. But we've got certain players in certain positions which know what to do with their roles and responsibilities ultimately.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll move on to. I'm always intrigued to find out about people's start to their careers, what made them want to become a footballer, who were their role models, things like that. So, what's your earliest memories of playing football, watching football?
I think it was my dad taking me to Anfield. That was the biggest insight. I mean, having them fans, and bear in mind this is when you could stand as well at Anfield as well. So there was, thousands there, 60, 70, whatever it was back then, where we could actually take in the atmosphere, and these players on the pitch were idolised. I don't think it was and it wasn't a money thing back then. It was more to do with the status of playing football and being successful for other people and putting joy on people's face. And it sounds a little bit cliche, I suppose, but I mean, I just remember my dad lifting me above his head in the Kop every time a goal went in, and that buzz and that feeling. And that was me not even being on that pitch. So then when he then started taking me to grassroots football and I started scoring goals, that buzz was with myself then. So I got that same feeling of when Liverpool used to score as when I used to score. So there was something in it. I think that fed the appetite a little bit of me wanting to play, and then getting the buzz for actually scoring goals. And it was probably about the age of 10 when I realised I probably had something over a couple of the other grassroots players that they didn't have. I found it quite easy to score goals, or I found it easy to play football. And I always come off the pitch and I was scoring 4 and 5 goals where everybody else, and we were winning 5-0. So I must have been doing something right. And it was an ego thing, even at a young age, I think. The responsibility of people needing me to score and me making people happy by scoring made me happy. So it was kind of that was the start of it. That was the process through grassroots football. It was just finding it a little bit harder when then I started going into Whittle schoolboys football and stuff like that. Really, that's when I probably questioned myself and doubted myself a little bit more.
You were watching Anfield there? Who were you looking at? Were you specifically looking at the forwards? Who were the inspirations for you?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one for me was Ian Rush. I had videos, not DVDs or not downloads like it is nowadays. You know, I had a video. I must have outplayed this video. It was called Goal Rush. I think there must have been about over 60 goals on there of just him in a Liverpool shirt. And I'd probably watch it every Saturday before Liverpool would then go and play, and before my dad would take me over to Anfield. And I was studying his movements. I was studying what separates him from I thought was the best finisher around. And obviously because then I got to see him live as well. It did inspire me, and it was just the way he created his space. It was the work ethic he had as well. Everything that I kind of then started to try and reenact in my own game as well. So he was a massive influence on me, and also the 89-90 season as well. That was another video I had in our collection, and that was something else that got battered. You know, you had the likes of Glenn Hussein, you had the likes of Peter Beardsley, Bruce Grobler. So growing up with all these, John Barnes, Steve McMahon, Ronnie Whelan, Alan Hansen. So it was, you know, I was probably still only 8, 9, 10, 11 throughout that decade.
Same as me. I mean, I had, talking about the video there, that was 501 great goals, you know, used to watch it all the time. It was worn out. It was just some of the goals that were scored and the pitches they played on, you know, nothing like today. But if you look at those players, how good they were, how technically, you know, the depth they were, the pitches, like only having 2 or 3 subs at a time, not 9 subs. Yeah. You know, some players back then, Kenny Dalglish, Ian Rush for me, Jan Mulvey, you know, Grobbelaar. I'm a Red as well, and obviously it was nice to take Caleb, like you said, your dad taking you to Anfield. I took him when he was just 5 or 6, bought him his Liverpool kit, and he was just, you know, from then on, the memories, you know, he wants more of it. So it's, you know, I can definitely relate to that. And no, great stuff listening to, you know, what you like to do back in the day.
Yeah, and I think like you said there, I'm making sure I'm doing the same with Caden. I've took him now a few times, even though it's much harder to get a ticket nowadays. You know, I think my dad was actually carrying me over the turnstiles back then. I think that was the way things got done. Now they're like gold dust. You know, I think it was when Liverpool playing in the Europa League, because the tickets were coming a bit easier to come by when I took Aiden. I think now I have to beg, steal and borrow to try and get a ticket into the Kop, because I want to give him that experience. I want him to feel what I felt. And he is, you know, he is. And although he's not looking at videos, he's looking at YouTube videos now, which is totally different, you know, on his phone, which is, you know, worlds apart. But the same. I can see in his eye the same feelings of what I felt are there for him as well. And he's lucky enough last year as well to see a title win as well, which was brilliant from a Liverpool perspective.
And he plays as well, doesn't he? Your lad plays.
Yeah.
Is he centre forward? Yeah. Is he a poacher?
Yeah. Do you know what? He probably needs to learn a little bit more of that. He's got a little bit more to him than what I did, to be honest. Where I said he still scores goals, but he's almost he likes the other side of the game, the assist side. And he's got a left foot. He's got a left foot on him where I don't know. Yeah, it's better than mine already. But I don't know where it's come from. So question marks on that one. But he's technically really good from an early age, which bodes well. He's just got to make sure, like I keep saying to him, you know, I'm not going to let him up on it. But he's got to keep maintaining that, because at the moment that's what gives him his edge, and he's constantly practicing as well. So he's. Yeah, he loves it at the minute.
Good lad. Right, so if we go back from early days and then we fast forward a little bit to your time at Bolton Victoria, where Kenny signed you. So we'd obviously seen you a little bit. Local football, you know, me and you always joke about it, young Mike Wilde. It's, you know, you young Mike Wilde when you were 26, you know, young Mike Wilde. So, you know, talk us a little bit about that and how it came to Kenny signing you for TNS.
Yeah, it was a little bit of, I reckon it was, I think it was the situation where I was probably going to not leave football alone, but it was the tipping edge for me as well, because I was 17, I was doing a college course. I put all my eggs in one basket with the football side of it. No one, academy-wise, really took interest or didn't think I was quite ready. So I didn't understand football either as well. I didn't understand how it worked. I just thought naturally if you wanted to play, you play. I didn't realise the money aspect when you turn 17, 18, 19 and the needs for it. So I ended up going to college and that. And then it was Pilton Vic's, Youngie phoned me up and said, would you want to sign for us? We'll give you expenses. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll give it a go on a Saturday. And then we got a couple of friendlies against Southport, Bangor and TNS. Are you available on these Saturdays? I was like, yeah. I didn't know anything about TNS at the time. I didn't know that they were a full-time club in Wales. Didn't even know anything about Kenny McKenna. So we went up to TNS. That was my first game. I think we played during a pre-season friendly. I don't know if you were playing or not. I don't know if you were there, Scott. I don't know if you played. But yeah, we won it. Or I think we won 3-1. I think you might have been preparing for Europe at the time. And I come off at half-time, I'd scored one and done all right. I come off at half-time with a little bit of a knock. And I walked past the bench and Kenny went, "You all right?" In his voice, "You all right, lad?" He goes, "Hey, what's up with you?" Like that. And I said, "Oh, the left side of me leg doesn't work or nothing." "Go strap it up and get on with it, will you?" Like that, you know, as he does. And then I walked off. And I didn't realise I must have made an impact on him. And I'm playing against you. I'd come up against Tally at the time. I remember he was the centre half, and I must have given him a little bit of a torrid. And I think I remember Tally actually saying to me a couple of months later when we were in a training session, like, "I put your name forward to Kenny there because, you know, you give us a little bit of a bash around, and, you know, you were game and you were running and you were raw." And I'd done the same the next two friendlies as well against Bangor and Southport. So we had like three options on the table. When Kenny phoned me up and said, "Listen, would you come and train for a little bit? You know, we're a full-time outfit. It's in TNS." And that I had to do a little bit of research behind it and see what the background of the Welsh League was like and all that kind of stuff. And in the end, the only thing that I ever wanted to do was play football full-time. So when the full-time thing got put, at that time, Bangor weren't, and I think Southport weren't either. So anyway, they were training at Pavilions, I think it was, on a Tuesday. And I went up and started training on a regular basis. And that's how it came about. And eventually I must have made some type of impact on Kenny, and he liked what he's seen. And it snowballed from there, and one session turned into 2 sessions a week, turned into 3 sessions a week, and eventually a part-time contract then turned into a full-time contract.
Yeah, and I remember you. Did you? Was it 2000? Probably very similar to my time starting there, leaving Chester and coming and playing. And it must have been, it must have been similar time, because
2002 was it? Something like that.
So we'd probably been in around the same time, wouldn't we? Yeah. So you'd come in that pre-season that I'd have come in the February. So you might have even played in the pre-season before I come in the February. That was probably what it was. Yeah. So going on from that, I mean, you're at TNS then. TNS are going from 3 or 4 full-time players into 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, back then it was, we had bibs, didn't we, that were bin bags, training at council pitches, putting your nets on them, our own nets on, people coming over and saying, "Oh, you can't train on here," and we'd have to get them off. And it was proper. I spoke to someone the other day about my first session where I think a motorbike was coming over the training pitch, or the car was doing donuts in the middle of the training pitch, and we were like, "Well, what's going on here?"
Yeah.
And they were the days. They were the days that you look back at and thought, we've pushed on from here. Great set of lads. You've got Kenny that's 100% behind all the boys. Yes, he had a go a lot of the time, but he was a winner, wasn't he? You know, and he got players there, and he got some very good players there, didn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And what people don't know is how many roles really Kenny had to undergo. You know, he wasn't just the manager, he wasn't just the coach. He was probably back then the physio in some ways, because he'd given an assessment of every injury that you have, you know, and tell you just to strap it up or ice it and get on with it. He was also, though, constantly having meetings with Mike and trying to pull in the right direction to get the most out of the football club. He was your nutritionist, telling you what you can and can't eat. He was setting up the pitch. He was taking stuff down. You know, it was full on. You know, in comparison to what, you know, the luxury that probably is laid out in front of them, it's not just at TNS, but any other football club part-time now, even in the Welsh Prem. So, you know, that's where my probably respect comes more from. You know, and he was always constantly recruiting. There wasn't people doing that for him. Yeah. He was the one that's going down to grassroots football, got the likes of myself and took a chance on myself. And he was doing that constantly as well. So it would never stop. Like,
no, he was great. Big impact on my career. You know, he'd have a go at me every single game. You know, you can have a go today in training. You know, last week, you're playing like you were in a testimonial, lad, you know. And I loved it because it fired me up. And then within 30 seconds of a game, he'd be on the top of the thing, wouldn't he? He'd be on the gantry with his hat on over his head, screaming down, having to go at other managers. You know, if there was a fight to be had, he'd be at the front of it, backing up his players. By the way, you know, making sure that he was the leader, and I always remember that. You know, there's times where was it Affenlido?
Oh yeah, we can't see in that. Yeah,
it's just like the Wild West, wasn't it? You know, but he cared, and if you've got a manager that cares as much as, you know, you've got 9 or 10 players in that team that are like him, then that's why you're going to get so much success.
Yeah, 100%. You know, people talk about this buy-in, this buy-in thing where players need to buy in. I think that was his gift, really, as well. You know, and something that I will take from. You did want to do. You weren't just doing it for a football club or for your wages at the end of that week or the success of a trophy. You were doing it not to let him down. And I think so many people and so many players now don't do that. I think that's probably 3rd or 4th in the list. But it can only be done if you really want to do it for that individual as well. So it has to be sincere, and that's what he was, and you wanted to do it for it. I remember him texting me after we got beat by Real, I think it was, and Andy Moran scored, and I think we were number 1 in the league all the way through, and then Real kind of like picked up the pace towards the end of the season and overtook us and ended up pipping us to the post. And he texted me at the last game of the season, and he said, "Hats off, that's it, gloves off next year. You know, we're going for it. We're going to make you the best striker in the league." And all I text back was, "So disappointed we didn't get the title for you," because that's how I felt. It wasn't for TNS, it was actually for him, because I knew the hard work that went behind what he was doing. And that's on a personal level, you know, and I think when you get that kind of personal level, that's when you know your players are doing it for you. I think that's, and I know it's harder now in modern day football, and probably it was because we kind of like went from rags to riches almost, and it is very difficult. But no, if there's something I can take, it's that kind of sincere approach and that man-to-man management that he really had a good ability for.
He did, but he had a good understanding of players. He's very, very tactically aware, which probably a lot of people, you know, they wouldn't think. They would just see this, you know, person who wants to fight and to be, you know, get the best players. But it wasn't that. He was tactically very, very good. There's an art to signing good players that fit in. He also got players that you could have given captaincy to. So if you look at our team and our best 11, you know, maybe early on, the likes of Tally, the likes of Tommy, the likes of Nails, the likes of yourself, me, John.
Yeah.
You know, they're all. You could give any of them captain. You could give any of them the captain's armband.
Yeah.
In this day and age, you're scratching your head for a captain in your team because you haven't got those leaders. And if you've got those 7, 8, 9 players, if you go 1-0 behind, you look around and you go, come on, let's get back to it. All of a sudden it's 2-1, 3-1, because all of those players want to do it.
Yeah.
That is very, very hard to find in a squad of 16, 17, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it is. And I think if you look at, going back to probably Connor's key success this year, last year, year before, although people may batter the fact that the age is quite high, but there's probably a reason for the age being high, because you need trustworthy people on that football pitch when you go across that line. You need lads that aren't going to be that Roy the Rovers character and just do something off the cuff. You need lads who you can trust. And I think that's why the spine of our team at Connor's key, and it almost relates to back in the day where at TNS and when we were the most successful. You're right. I think the consistency of them lads and the hanging your hat on them kind of situation is more apparent.
Yeah. So if we're looking at team spirit and everything else, obviously we all liked a little drink, didn't we, at TNS? We liked a night out, probably more than we should have. But I think that also helped with morale, team spirit, bonding. The amount of times we'd go out in Liverpool or we'd have nights out arranged, holidays together, with management as well. That wouldn't happen in this day and age. So it has an effect. It has an effect on the togetherness. Say what you like about sports science and stuff. Yes, you might detract 5% away, but the 15, 20% extra you're going to get from being that tight unit, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And I think, culture has changed now. There was, when I say a drinking culture, there wasn't. It was a socialising culture. I remember the away trips to South Wales. We looked forward to it all week. And we were real with it. We rewarded ourselves when we got the results, and that was part and parcel of it. It was like a package. But I'm still a big believer of that. And as long as, now you've got to be a little bit more restrained and a little bit more cute the way you pick your times to actually do it. But that's your release mechanism, that's your reward. So I believe anyway, you work hard all week to gain that result, then you do need that little blast out, and then you start again. So you replenish, then the next day you kind of like eat the right stuff, drink the right stuff, and then you're ready to peak again. But ultimately now I think that's a little bit lost, and maybe the new generation that's coming through, I'm not saying they're going to miss out. I just think there's going to be a different mindset. And does that play an effect on how much commitment goes into that game? Only time will tell. The elite of the elite totally understand. But what we're saying about the socialising aspect, I believe hugely the gains that you get from that will knit you together as a group a hell of a lot more. And you have each other's back a hell of a lot more as well. Yeah. That at the times that we've had down South Wales, mate, I know even like when we've gone away to Maga, it's been that good. I can't even remember half the stories. You know what I mean? They all kind of blend into one, which is what it's all about. It is.
It's brilliant stuff. I look back and I think we had some good nights, but it might be a Saturday night where I'm not going to name names, but we'd have lads falling off the bus,
yeah,
and then taking the crate of bod with them and then going out, but that happened, several times. And then maybe a Sunday where you'd probably watch the football and have a Super Sunday, and then that afternoon one would creep into Sunday night. But we train Monday morning and we train hard. You know what I mean? We would train, and we even had the breathalyzer at one point at TNS because Kenny was sick of lads coming in and having a few too many bevies. But
what about when you were there? What about when you'd turn the corner and you see them poles out for the
12 every single Monday up at Vauxhall Motors and Ellesmere Port, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pavilions.
Yeah.
So
and it was even the other place. What was the other place called, mate? Ellesmere, was it?
Ellesmere College, yeah.
College as well, yeah. That pitch seemed, that field seemed very big every Monday.
Smash that, yeah. Get back to it. 4 week of training and get back on. So
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
What's look at your TNS time then? Highlights there, things that stand out in your memory, maybe 3 or 4 things.
Oh, there is a few. Obviously, winning the first Welsh Prem with them, because it seemed so long to come, and because of the factor of
took us 2 or 3 seasons, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It did. Again, it didn't just click straight away. Just people automatically thought that because there was money there, because we were full time, etc. And that, but it didn't. It took 2 or 3 seasons, and because we wanted it so much for Kenny, it was a big relief when we got it. I remember with Lance and Fry when we lifted the cup, and it did seem like forever we were trying to achieve it, and something was always getting in our way. The previous seasons, but so that stood out. The players I was with, I don't think I talked about it before really, about like influences, but when you go into a full-time setting, you do need them senior players. And although we probably didn't have an impact on anybody else, Steve Antrobus had a massive impact on me.
Great lad.
Yeah, he was a brilliant lad, but because he played in the position that I played, because I was trying to find my way as a forward and give myself that structure, I needed somebody to kind of like look at on a constant basis. Maybe not how to act away from the pitch, but just like what attributes would I need to be successful, because I knew he played for Wimbledon. He's had a successful career over in England. And all that type of stuff. Yeah, I remember him saying, grappling with people, being that kind of central figure, that constant platform to play off. I just wanted to make sure I'd probably done something that he didn't do, and that later on in the career was add them goals. I knew I had that goal scoring. So what I didn't have was that constant platform to play off. So it was good to really have him as a little bit of a focal point, so I can learn off. And even him telling me, making sure training sessions, you do your touch square, you get somebody to ping balls in you constantly to make sure your touch is right, your set's right, you do your press ups, you do your sit ups. If then anything you don't do in that day is you make sure you get 100 sit ups, 100 press ups in to get your physical strength. Now, I was never going to be the size of what Antrobus was, but I knew I could be as strong or learn how to use my body in that certain way. So that was another big thing I took from TNS. But obviously, the standouts playing against Liverpool in the Champions League, we took that almost. I don't think anything can come up to that. To highlight that, eclipsed everything that I wanted to achieve, to walk out at Anfield. And again, something that I was very grateful with Kenny. Hopefully, I'd done enough to actually earn my place. But if you remember rightly, Juice probably scored about 38 goals that season before. I'm building into the game. I was thinking, there's no chance I'm getting a start here. It's boyhood team. It's a full packed house at Anfield. The current champions of Europe. Yeah, I had my whole family there and that. And being told that I was going to start in that game was probably better than any feeling. I could only compare it to probably the birth of me little lad and my little girl, I suppose. And so it is up there with walking out and feeling that pride. So that was a major highlight. I'm sure it is for yourself.
I can remember standing in the tunnel. I've talked on podcasts before. People have said, "What's your greatest memory and your highlight?" I bore people talking about it. I don't care. Stand in the tunnel there, looking to the side of you, and it's like on the television. Every Sunday, every Wednesday, Liverpool are there, and to look across and Gerrard's there, or Sammy Hippier. You coming up against him. How big was he, by the way? He was like, he was like a wardrobe, wasn't he? Pepe Reina. You've got Morientes. You've got Alonso. I've just put Alonso's shirt up actually in the toilet there. Treasured possessions. Looking down, walking down those steps, and then up at Anfield, and the roar of the crowd, and then walking round with the trophy before the game.
Yeah, I think like you just said, you don't get sick of talking about it. I love talking about it because every time I talk about it, a new memory pops into my mind. And I remember like another thing that triggers it off. So everyone asks me, not bored of talking about it because something new, something fresh. And I remember standing there and you had Hippier and Carragher and obviously Gerrard and that. And even remembering Stevie Evans tapping Morientes on the shoulder beforehand and go, "Hey, can I have your shirt after the game?" I just think it's absolutely brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that sums it up because that's where we were. Our mindsets were totally different. They're thinking about obviously They've just won the Champions League. They're thinking about winning this game. But it was an experience for us. There's no getting away from it. You know, I probably wish I took more in. And now if it was next week, for instance, I know for a fact I would soak a hell of a lot more up. I was very scared. I was very nervous, you know, when I almost felt like I played the whole game like that, you know, looking down, because the concept of me looking up and seeing all them faces and seeing who I was playing against, I was scared that I would just freeze. Brilliant. I mean, that there's nothing that can eclipse it. I think the Man City game, you know, when we played Man City, again, coming up against real quality opposition and the likes of David Seaman and Elker, Robbie Fowler, again, Fowler's one of my heroes as well. So ticking so many boxes for playing for TNS. And then, again, we played an in-house game, didn't we, against Liverpool, a training game, when we went to Melwood.
Yeah, brilliant.
That was even more enjoyable sometimes, thinking back now, because I was older and because there was less pressure on you, you could actually have a little bit more fun in that game, you know, and actually think, what's going on here? You know, they made 3 signings, wasn't it? I think Firmino
played, Firmino, Kolo Toure was playing.
Toure.
Markovic. Yeah.
Markovic, yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so there was Saka. Saka was playing, wasn't he?
He was handing the boots out, wasn't he? He was handing the boots to all the boys. I've got myself a pair of Sacco's size 13 boots, I think. Yeah, so good.
I remember I was obviously coming up against him and giving him one of them, and he's going, "Hey, no."
Did he?
I said, but I enjoyed that more, I think, as well, because it was older, because there wasn't 45,000 fans as well. So, great.
If I was to say to you, going through coach education and the role you're in now, if you'd have done that earlier, mirrored with a football career, would you have been even better? I know the answer.
Yeah.
I also say to other people, if you can do coaching earlier, it will make you a better player. And they're like, how's it going to? I'm telling you now, if you go into coaching in your early 20s, then it will improve you as a player, because it just opens your mind to, one, what the coach is saying, and two, you're thinking about your role so much, aren't you? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've got two thoughts, and you know, one is I'm really gutted the fact that I didn't experience elite coaching from the ages of 11 to 16, and it was nothing against the grassroots coaches I did have, but you probably know what it was like yourself. I was probably playing on a full-side adult pitch with 13 aside, it probably was, ball in the middle, just go mental, really. There was no structure to it, you know, whereas if I look at some of the Tranmere lads who I was playing with, and then I was coming in contact with them when I was playing for Whittle Schoolboys, Cheshire Schoolboys, they had structured sessions 4 times a week, knowledge, analysis, even early days, I'm not saying video analysis, but they were getting sat down, what could you have done better, areas of improvement, all that type of stuff. So it was structured environment for them. If I would have had that from the ages of 12 to 16, it would have put me in a hell of a lot better, and I wouldn't have been playing catch up from the ages of 18 to 21, because that's probably where I was playing catch up. You know, you remember me when I was a young lad at TNS, very raw, probably didn't know where to run, when to run, what types of runs to make. I was getting educated by Kenny and learning on the job almost. I was learning my trade when really that should have been probably pushed backwards. Now, if I was ready to go at the age of 18 and I had that coach element earlier on, as well as then my own coach education stuff, and I started the coaching process, I think I would have been a hell of a lot better place, 100%. I think being able to understand being able to understand other roles and responsibilities as well is key. So not just mine as a forward, but I need to know what that wide man's objective is. So what's he wanting to do? Well, I know when he's getting the ball, he's going to look to take him on and get a ball in. Well, that affects me now. The number 10 that comes short, when he gets the ball, what are my movements off that? How am I going to get him to get into space? Well, I've got to take me 2 centre halves further away to help him out. So it's a knock-on effect of that. Now, the coach education process is has learned me a hell of a lot. And it's made me understand the game twofold. Like, and I've had to cram that in a shorter space of time. So if we can stretch that over a longer period of time, the individual is going to be in a much better space. I mean, I think that's why these programs that we do here at Tranmere, and there's loads of other programs, really good programs that's happening all over the country and going into North Wales and Wales as well, is people think in order to be a better footballer now, it all has to be done on the pitch. Now, a lot of the good work is getting done in a classroom, and in them reviews that you have on a one-to-one, or them unit reviews that you have with that team, you'll gain a hell of a lot more out of that. And I think sometimes when they put this EPPP system in the Cat 1, Cat 2 clubs, I still think the education side of it is still getting brushed aside a little bit. And it's because possibly it would be great to have the right people in them places, people who have played, people who have, that they've really got, the players can have that connection with, who have played, who have been through that club system, rather than putting a teacher in front of them as well when they're doing that. So I think the fine balance, I think that'll gain a little bit more, because I've seen it firsthand here. I think that'll gain a little bit more interest as well. And the value of the coach education will come out a little bit more with them young players.
Good. You've talked, obviously, your role is an educator, a teacher, a coach, or whatever. Do you see yourself as a coach and as a manager going forward? You obviously got a few more years, like you've just alluded to before. You want to play on for a few more years. Mike Wilde, the manager, the coach, the assistant, whatever. Is that something you want to do?
I think it's something that needs considering. I think it's something I want to think about. I think it's all about the project that comes up. And it's about timing. I think you'll agree yourself, Scott. I think it's not about like throwing yourself into a situation where ultimately you're going to fail. I think you need a lot of support. I think it needs to be right as well. I enjoy the education factor from a youth development point of view. However, I love the senior football situation. So to rule it out would be wrong of me. I think eventually I need to sample it. It's just whether the opportunity comes up. I think a lot of boxes need to be ticked. I really do, in order for it to get my attention.
I can certainly see being in a dugout, being a manager, played with you, played against you. I know your sort of personality and stuff like that. If people would say to me, okay, of your players that you played with, who would be management sort of type, I'd definitely say yourself, because you're a thinker of the game as well. I've seen you coach and you're prepared and everything else. So for me, it'd be no brainer if someone was to say, well, who would you see? Who would you like to see as a manager? Then I would certainly say yourself.
That's a lovely comment. I think one thing that I always have questions over, I think, is it's so important that you have the right people in and around you, because I definitely haven't got all the answers. I'm still very much a student of the game, like we all are. I think a learning curve as well. I think you can only learn when you're actually going to be on the job as well. So it's how successful you are learning in action, So it's almost like people nowadays, I think, get the position and think they have the answers to everything, or believe they do, and are not receptive of other people's opinions. I like to, if the opportunity was to come up, there would have to be people in the right places so I can learn off them, so they can help me develop as well, because it is a continuous thing, and it's without it being, cliched and, saying things just for saying sake. It's 100%. There's certain situations that have come up where I'll struggle and I'm still scratching my head tactically, for instance, thinking even now with the under-19s at Tranmere or the 17s, whenever we go out, I'm starting to think, is this coach, is this manager get one up on me here, because I'm struggling to figure this out. And I think it's great. It's so important to have that soundboard where you can bounce ideas off each other and come up with a solution. I think and that's why I said, that's why it's got to be the right situation. You can't just be plonked by yourself, almost like the Kenny situation. That's why I probably got so much admiration for him, and respect, because he was just plonked there and he had to come up with all the solutions, all the ideas himself. So, no, it's definitely something.
Cagsy was there with him, wasn't he?
Oh, Cagsy was there, yeah. No, he was. I'll never for them sessions. Yeah.
Cagsy's best session? Do you know what to say about his best session now? You'll know it, won't you?
Yeah.
Was it then? What?
The crossbar one.
Yeah.
I still do that now.
Brilliant. So you're taking something from something that probably we had a laugh about, but you know, can't use your hands, got to head it off the line. Lads around the arc of the 18 yard, all line up, have a shot. Brilliant. But bit of fun before you left the training session.
Exactly. And you know what? I mean, going back to the memories as well of some of the sessions, you know, we had the likes of Kalo as well, top coach, and Kenny. But, you know, if you think about some of the funny set, you know, like even Kenny's "I'm the ball, what you going to do" one was fantastic, wasn't it? You know, where you got these 11 lads who were starting on the Saturday, on a Friday, and we're running around following this manager, you know, because he's the ball, and every time he comes close to you, you're backing off him, and every time he goes far, you're shuffling.
But he'd do it when and then he'd say, yeah, just move it. Like, no. We do our roles, and then
I do it now though. So I've took it all on board. You know what I mean? So it's
his shape one where we start on the left. John would step over it. I'd set him. John would switch it to nails. Wouldn't he? And the lads would do it. And then Kalo doing the imaginary ball.
Oh, I was just about to say
imaginary.
But the lads bought into it. You know, there'll be lads arguing over he got a touch of the ball, and you know, handball.
Right, but you know, thinking outside the box, I've heard people do it. I've seen other teams do it and stuff. So it's great. Yeah. One thing we'll just touch on then. So you moved away from TNS. You'd won everything anyway with TNS before you came back, but moving away, you went to Fleetwood.
Yep.
So what was the Jamie Vardy bit? Let's talk about the Jamie Vardy bit. Jamie Vardy had left and you went there?
No. So basically, no. Yeah, so basically, Vardy, I've gone from Fleetwood. So I spent 18 months, 2 years at Fleetwood. Yeah. As I've gone, he's come in.
Oh, he's
so
coming.
So I've missed him. So,
right.
So I could probably put my claim to fame as, you know, he replaced me, didn't he? I suppose.
Yeah. So
a great experience at Fleetwood, really was. Probably opened up my eyes to how competitive the English side of the game was. Even though we were in the Conference North and Conference, the monies that was involved, the players that were dropping from the league to come and play for a club of that stature was phenomenal, and probably put my nose out to tilt a little bit, because I've gone from obviously TNS, playing every week, being the top goal scorer, scoring week in, week out, to playing a little bit of second fiddle, which dented my confidence a little bit, and it was something that I needed to get over, and I don't think I actually did. I think it probably just redirected my intentions of, do I want a longevity of a career, or did it probably just... And you see it so much in the English leagues now. You see lads come in and do really well for 4 years, and then you don't see them again. Where probably, you know, going back to the Welsh Prem situation, I've probably been able to maintain over a period of time, and that's probably because everybody I played for, I've probably been that figurehead, and that's probably what I've needed in order to be successful. I think when I'm maybe not that figurehead, or not loved, or not played as much, you're not probably going to get the best Mike Wilde, and I can see that now over the period of time. But it was very hard in that Fleetwood days, and it was just probably because how relentless the games were as well. Tuesday, Saturday, coming up against similar opposition every single week. We're big, strong centre halves, and I mean, I still scored at Fleetwood. We still got promoted, but it was the constant battle and challenge of, here's a new striker. Oh, who is it now? Gareth said, oh, he's on X amount of money. Oh, here's a new... Who's that? Lee Thorpe. He's played in the champion. He's played in this division. Oh, I've got to battle against him now. Constant grind. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I constantly battled with them and won my place, I think I would have kicked on again. I don't think Fleet was that club, though, that would really embrace me and you'd be there for a long period of time. They were on a mission. They wanted to get out of them leagues. They wanted to be done with the non-league, and they wanted to get into that league system as quick as possible. And it was clear to see that. So although it was good for me, possibly not the club to nurture me and give me that opportunity to find my feet. And that's probably why quickly I moved on to more of a project with Chester.
Chester was great for you. Obviously, they were setting up a new club. Obviously, I've been at Chester as well. It was great fan base and lovely pitch, stadium. Everything was there for you. You obviously got them through the leagues. You've got goals. You've got so many goals from, you won a couple of titles and top goal scorer. I would certainly imagine you got. How many did you get in one season? You got
30, I think it was 37 and 37 in one season. It was, yeah.
That's credit to you as well. Going to another different league, getting goals again, and that was obviously you were on the crest of a wave there with Chester as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing for Chester, and one of the things that stands out more than anything, is the fan base. And when I said about like Fleetwood, not nurturing me, they had a fan base, Fleetwood, but it wasn't that homely feel. Probably maybe it was because it was only down the road as well. But they probably took me in a little bit more, but I couldn't do no wrong really. And obviously the goals help. I mean, as soon as they get a goal scorer, I mean, it was like Darryl Clare that was there as well. He scored a lot of goals for them. He become a big figure for them. So I think I took that mantle on a little bit, and then I obviously started scoring. And yeah, I couldn't do any wrong. And when you go on the pitch and you've got 3,000, 2,500 fans having your back, it makes a hell of a lot of difference. The confidence that breeds from it. I was even taking penalties, and I'm not a big penalty taker. I think, I mean, I wasn't very successful either, but I still had to go. That just goes to show kind of the snowball effect that happens when people, really have your back, and it leads to two back-to-back promotions, Golden Boot, Player of the Year, all them type of accolades. So it was a really good time for me, and I'm probably one where, it stood out in my career because of not just the success, but where it was in my life. I think I was in a little bit of a split roads as well, a bit of a crossroads, where that's where I knew I needed something after football as well, where I started taking the education more serious and making sure I was skilled up on a different side of it, so I could teach, or so I could do the coaching side, I think. And then that's when I started understanding the game a hell of a lot more as well.
Nearly done, mate. But obviously great moments and talking about your career. Who are your favourite players? Messi or Ronaldo? I like to always ask this one because I like to find out. Messi, which one would you go for?
Sorry, mate, you've just gone off 2 seconds. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
There you go. I've got you back now there, that's it. Okay. Always a tough one, isn't it? Messi or Ronaldo? It's 100% Messi, 100%. But the reason why I pause, and I've only started pausing recently, because you can't I mean, I'm probably saying what any other football person would say, but you cannot underestimate what Ronaldo does. The numbers speak for themselves. But as a natural gifted ability, I feel like Messi's been sprinkled with some type of dust. He was born to play football, almost like Ronaldo's earned the right to, and has manufactured a certain way of playing. And he's almost like factory made. And then Messi, I feel like, more grown, is natural. It's almost like it was destined in the stars. And Ronaldo's, and I see it in two different kind of situations, but Messi's mesmerizing. I think you cannot, I don't think there's a downside to his game, apart from obviously defending. And obviously he hasn't got the heading ability of what Ronaldo has, but I don't like to say one's better than the other, but if I had to, it would be Messi. I do see them in two different categories. I don't know what your thoughts on them are, but I mean,
love watching them both. If you look at the goal scoring, you're getting 40 goals. You're getting 40 goals in the top leagues that they're playing in. He even did it for Juventus and stuff. I know there's a little bit of a change coming now, I think, where he might change club, but Messi to play for that club for so long. But like you say, I'd pay anything to watch him play. That people would pay thousands to go and watch Messi play once in their lifetime, So for me, watching him, and he is mesmerising. I love Maradona. Maradona was one of my favourite players, just 5'5", tiny, but the way they play football, mates, is just, they're on another universe. So I'd go with Messi, but like I say, the work rate and what Ronaldo's done for himself, the single-mindedness and the he's actually made himself better. He's just gone, I'm going to be the best player in the world, and he has been at the time, hasn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so last question for you. In terms of what you know now, what information would you give a young Mike Wilde, back starting at 17, from everything you know now, 20 years later, what bits of advice would you give him?
I think it's echoing what we just talked about, really, with the education side of it, making sure. And I took it for granted. I really did. I think even down to the nutrition aspect. I mean, I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you remember me around about the 18, 19-year-old mark. You know, when I say I was heavy, I wasn't heavy. I was just bigger than what I am now. I think that goes to show how much I've educated myself and changed myself and needed to know in order to have that longevity. Yeah. Yeah, I think if I knew all this, as I say, I think that's why, I'm not saying even academy, you don't even have to be in an academy as a young lad. I just think you need to be in the right environment where people are giving you that knowledge and you're listening to that knowledge, because there's a different thing, somebody giving you it, but are you going to take that information and use it? So the nutrition aspect, the analysis, somebody sitting you down, looking at your age improvement. If I was to do that earlier on in my career, I believe I still would have fell short of the ultimate of playing in them top English divisions, because the attributes probably wouldn't suit me. I think I would have done enough to have a really good career, but ultimately now you need them characteristics and them attitudes of pace, power, athleticism, being dynamic, that type of stuff. You need that in your game as well, which can also be trained to a certain degree. And that again comes through education and knowing how to train it. Yeah. So the cycle of what I'm thinking is the 17, 18, 19 age group is really important to sit down and reflect on everything you do daily in order for you to have an impact later on in your career. Definitely, I mean, would I change much? Probably not. Probably would have just backed myself a little bit more in confidence-wise as well. Looking back at, again, my Fleetwood days, or even when new players were coming in at a younger age and always checking your shoulder just because they were playing at Man United or they had a trial there or they had one season there, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have one up on you. And likewise now, I think when you go into coaching or management or anything like that, the team that you're playing against, just because they're in a higher division, it doesn't mean you haven't got the capability of having to beating them or beating that manager on the sideline or that coach on the sideline as well.
Experiences have been, first and foremost, haven't they? If you look back, experiences over Europe and stuff, I look back and think, did we do enough in Europe? You can always look back, regrets. Yeah. You shouldn't have regrets, but there's things that, I may have played 30-something games in Europe, 35, never scored a goal in Europe. Whereas I look back and think, I should have done more. But then I look back, the gap was bigger. When we played in Europe, the gap was a lot bigger, wasn't it? You go into games now thinking, tell you what, we've got a chance of beating these teams. You'll certainly, you'll have at done so even at Connors Quay, beating teams and thinking, we're in with a chance here. So
I think going on, I think talking about that though as well, and it ties into the education stuff, is I don't think we were fit enough back then either, Scott. I mean, although we had tough pre-seasons, but we were never fitter than that team we were always coming up against. Now I think the gap is closed, especially with TNS's, your Connors Quay. We're a fit bunch of lads as well, so you can perform over that 90 minutes a hell of a lot. And talking about scoring in Europe, I mean, I've even missed that off a highlight, which was obviously getting the hat-trick in the Champions League as well. So, and that was when I felt like I was becoming a different type of player as well, more educated, and I think that all kind of ties in as well.
Yeah. Great stuff. Been really good to chat to you.
Yeah, it's been really good.
We've had a lot of years together, and it's nice to see you're still going strong, mate. It's like you said there, you've got lads in the Connors Quay team, 37, 38, that are still going strong because they take care of themselves. Been in the league a long time, been in other leagues, but the strongest survive, mate. And great to have you on. Real good insight. Hope people enjoy it. Got a good couple of people coming on soon as well. We've got Nev Powell and Benners coming on. So two different ones there. Obviously, Nev Powell with his banger days, won a lot in the Welsh Prem, and Chris Venable's still going strong. So if you want to listen to it, it's on. It's going to be on YouTube and on Twitter. The platform is Anchor. So hopefully you pass things on and get a few more listeners. So it's been great to have you on, Wildey, and I'm sure I'll see you soon, mate. Okay.
Yeah, very much so.
Good man.
Thanks very much, Scott.
See you soon, mate.